Hi, and welcome to my channel. We're here. Everything spoken is to inspire. Again, I am Tamika, and I appreciate you joining me on today. If you would just like, share, and subscribe, I'll greatly appreciate it. Today, I just want to talk about, those moments when you have in your head, you know what? I started not to do that. Something told me not to do that. If only I would have just listened, because I heard that and it told me not to, but yet I did it anyways. Those moments like that, those are the moments where we need to start actually listening just a little bit harder. And so depending on whether you want to call it discernment, or you want to think it's your own intuition, or it's just whichever way you want to go about it. Sometimes we need to listen, because those are sometimes warnings definitely to keep us from going through, or to help us avoid disasters. A lot of times we hear those little promptings come, and we just don't really take notice to them right then. But then after we actually go through the process of everything, and then we have that, that thought like, you know what? I should have listened. And so on moments like that, I would definitely say take notice to that, because there's so many times that things are presented to us, and right then it seems like the greatest ideal ever, or it may just seem very pleasurable right then and there. But it's not until later that you get the evidence that it's really not as great as it looked, or it presented itself in the beginning. And so then, depending on what it is, whether it's a relationship, or maybe it was a purchase that perhaps that you wasn't that sure that you should have gotten it in the first place, because you know how it is when we see stuff and we want it, and then you get it, and then now I got to figure out, how am I going to pay for it? Or again, with even food, I shouldn't have ate that because I knew it was going to make me sick, or I got to pay for the results of it right now because I didn't listen. Or that good looking woman, or that good looking man, that inner voice said, you know what? Don't give them the time of the day, because they're not good for you. All those things like that that come up, try to give us like warnings to say, hey, let's stay away from those things, because definitely, we do, get warnings, or, or get like that inside information early enough to know that, hey, if I don't waste my time here, I don't have to pay for the results of it later. um, Depending on where you stand as far as spiritual wise, you can say, God gave me that discernment. He told me not to do it, but yet so I did not listen. And now this struggle is what I'm dealing with. But he definitely tries to save us from some of those things that we don't have to really go through. But he allows us that choice. And that's the part that we have to always remember. You had a choice to decide to do it or to not to do it. And the consequences may sometimes be great, and then sometimes they can be horrible. But most times I would definitely advise you to pay more attention, because even the voice of God is very, 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 very low. It's a still small voice. So sometimes you would say, okay, maybe that's just my inner thoughts. Maybe that's just me back and forth. But actually, the small voice sounds just like you. And so that discernment, or that intuition that we have, is our inside, I'll say our that inside information that we have to avoid any kind of trouble that we don't even have to go through. So I would advise you to really pay more attention to listen to those things, because there's nothing more horrifying than having to, pay for the consequences of something that you could have actually stayed away from the very beginning. And then now having to go back and pick up the pieces from it, it can just take so much time, the healing of it, or for instance, the lost things that you may have lost through it, through making that decision, all those things like that. You don't want to really have to endure going through that situation. So I would just recommend just maybe pay a little bit more attention to that. I know sometimes our eyes get so big and things can look so grand before us, and oh, how tempting it can be. But at the same time, we do know the devil in disguise comes to tempt you and to get you off course, to, to make you fail, or, to discourage or break your heart, or whichever um, situation that's presented before you that costs you any type of hardship. We do know that those things, do come, and it's okay sometimes that some things we have to actually make that mistake in order to learn from it, in order to heal and to do better in the future. But at the same time, if you can avoid it, then avoid it. But if not, of course, the consequences, again, the consequences are gonna be there. So again, I love you all. Just pay attention, like I said, in the future, to try to make decisions based upon great intuition. Don't ignore the signs. Don't ignore the warnings, or whichever order you would like to call it in. Just try to pay attention, just to keep yourself from having to go through things that you don't really have to be introduced to. But again, thank you for joining me on today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.